So first of all, something that I'm sure we can all agree on and coalesce around is that cyber attacks happen too often. Another thing I'm hoping we can all agree on is that 100% of successful cyber attacks were not detected in time or at all. So we're going to talk about what attacks look like. So most major attacks start with initial access. Initial access can happen in lots of different ways, obviously, and it's really sad to say in 2025 that RDP is still responsible for almost 20% of ransomware attacks. Exploitation of vulnerabilities is still big. Okay, patching is important. You should patch your things, but the fact of the matter is there are so many vulnerabilities out there. I mean, it seems to be weekly vulnerabilities in firewalls at this stage, and very often they are being used. In a lot of cases, what happens is it's not the one that exploits the vulnerability that is going to ransom you. They're going to sell that access on the dark web, and it's somebody else is going to come along, they're going to buy that access, and then they're going to exploit it. The next stage of most attacks is reconnaissance. So, fun fact, the first thing that gets run in most instances of environments being compromised is an IP scanner. So Angry IP or IP scan, any one of them can be used, but it's very often the first thing that gets run. It's a very early indicator of compromise because they want to see what else is out there on the network. So once they see there's a server out there, they're going to enumerate shares. They're going to see what's on those shares, what data is there, what can we take, what can we damage. Backups, they need to know where your backups are. Is it on-site? Is it off-site? Is it mutable? So they need to identify and hopefully, from their perspective, wipe out your backups. Obviously, data locations, as I said, where the important stuff is. They will often go after and try and find out what your cyber insurance coverage is. Because if they know what your cyber insurance coverage is, they'll know what they're likely to get paid out. And on a similar note, bank statements. Okay, they want to know how much money you have. There's no point in asking for $1 million from an environment or from an organization that has $100,000 in the bank. Use ThreatLocker built-ins. So even if your tech does use torrent software and he downloads a cracked version of Acrobat or Creative Cloud, if you're using ThreatLocker's built-ins, we will only have the good hashes in those built-ins. So when somebody tries to run a cracked version of Photoshop, it will not be allowed to run. So you will know what is going on. Big takeaway, protect yourselves. You are high-profile targets. If I'm an attacker, why would I try to get into one of your 100 environments if I can get into you and get into 100 environments from there? So protect yourselves first and foremost. Protect all devices, not just some. Okay, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If you deploy to 90%, 95% of your devices, I can guarantee you it is the 5% that you do not deploy to, that is the one that will get hit. Ransomware gangs are more persistent than they ever were. Now, I have a theory as to why it is, which is I think they bought access to this environment. They didn't get into it. They didn't hack into it themselves. They went onto the dark web. They purchased access to this environment. So they're invested in it. So they're not going to give up that easily. Block RDP to all but trusted devices. Okay? Even if you need to expose an RDP port to the internet, and I would argue that you should never need to expose an RDP port to the internet, block access to that port to all but trusted devices. So we have a product called Storage Control where you can choose which programs have access to what data. So why would anything other than, for example, Hyper-V need to access a Hyper-V data store? It doesn't. So block everything else, including Windows Explorer. So you can't mount that VHD, you can't delete security software. 70% of successful attacks involve remote encryption. And remote encryption is something protected on the network, having data on it encrypted by something that is unprotected on the network. Okay, so it could be a compromised VPN, for example. So the interaction basically started with a demonstration. So we got on a call, we showed them what the product is and how we do things, and they ran a live POC on their own environment. Let it learn for about 2 weeks, because one of the things that we do is we learn your environment, we create a picture of your environment, we create policies to allow all the things that need to run to continue to run. So it catalogued, as I said, all the software, matched many of them to built-ins. Built-ins is a really big part of why ThreatLocker's is easy to manage as it is, which is we take the heavy lifting out of it. We maintain application definitions for over 8,500 common applications, so you don't need to worry about updates causing problems with your allow list. So ThreatLocker has grown over the last 3 or 4 years. For any of you who know us from back in the day, it used to be just an allow listing solution. We now have a complete endpoint protection platform, including the most recent additions to that being patch management and web control. Okay, so if you're a customer and you haven't seen patch management or web control, talk to your account manager, talk to your solutions engineer, get in a demo, they'll show them to you. We've also added Office 365 detection. We've also added, I mean, the list is too long to mention, but it has grown into a fully fledged endpoint protection platform. So if you haven't looked at it in a while, now is a really good time to look at it. But we have a bunch of really interesting stuff. If you're interested, book a demonstration. That QR code will take you there. Or do please talk to one of my colleagues at the booth. They are there, I think, this evening and tomorrow evening. But have a chat with one of my colleagues. Bang on time. Thank you all very much. Hope you found it educational, and I will talk to you again soon.